Recording in progress.
Yo, what's good? What's good? I'm your boy Trey Frazier right here. I got my brother Maestro Styles here with me today.
What's good? You are super lagging right now.
Oh man. Okay. Well, let me I'm gonna jump right into the show here real quick. Welcome folks. It's the Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. Myself, Trey Frazier. Got my brother Maestro Styles here with me today. Check us out live right here on YouTube, on our channel, also on Twitter at Barbershop Sports. I'm sorry, Barbershop SPOR2 is the Twitter handle where you can watch us live right now. Also on our Facebook page, and if you can follow us also on Instagram at Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. Bro, man, what's good, man? I understand we got some technical issues going on. What's going on?
Cool, man. If you can still hear me, you can hear me kind of, I guess, exclusively, I guess. Like,
yeah, I can hear you.
I hope it's not too much. Okay, I just hope it's not too much lag, so that at least if your or my video was coming in a little blurry, at least they could at least hear the content in a cohesive manner.
Yeah, they can hear. Like I said, and we talked before we got on here live. I can hear you clear. My side is good. I hear everything that you're saying. We should be good as far as like the viewing audience and all that good stuff. So I think we in a good place, bro. As long as nothing else happens, I think we in a good place. Yeah. What's good though, man? How's your week been?
Testing, but hey.
Yeah, it's every week it seemed like, right?
It seems that way, but
Seems that way, yeah.
Fight or flight.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Yeah, man. It kind of a quick turnaround. Given we did the last recording on Thursday, so we kind of jumping right back into it real quick. But
Shout out Liz.
yeah. Shout out Liz Robbins, man. That was dope appearance by her. Second time she's been on the podcast. So that was cool. That was cool. Excited tonight because we got a special guest. And for folks that don't know this person, she years ago, this might have been 5-6 years ago, ESPN had the First Take Your Take contest, and she just happened to be one of the finalists to come on First Take and debate Stephen A. She goes by the name of Chrystal Stone. She worked for ESPN Radio a little bit after that appearance on First Take. And now she's out in Arizona doing her school thing. She's still, covering sports and things like that. She's a Dallas native, so she's a Cowboys fan. She's a Mavericks fan. So we'll talk to her in a little bit in regards to her two teams, her kind of journey into, covering sports, and how she, what got her into doing the First Take thing. So, and, looks like we have her here. Right now, coming in, folks. So, Chrystal Stone, like I said before, former ESPN First Take Your Take winner, appeared on the show a few years ago as a guest on that show. Then she did a little bit of ESPN Radio for a while, and she got accepted to a school out in Arizona. I believe it's Arizona State University. And now she's, she's out there doing her thing. And it looks like we have her here now. Chrystal, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear y'all. How y'all doing?
Oh, we're doing great. We're doing great.
Great.
Good. Loving the background. Loving the two pictures. Yes, absolutely. Well, first I want to say congratulations on getting accepted to Arizona State University. So you're doing grad school, right?
That's right. I'm studying sports journalism at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communications.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Okay.
That's great.
Okay.
That's great.
That's
Doing your thing. So, I'll start here. So, two-part question for you, because you're a Dallas native and you relocated to New York for a few years, and then you got the ESPN First Take Your Take gig, and then you did ESPN Radio for a little bit. Describe for us what made you decide to pack up and leave for New York and kind of, leading to where you're at now.
Oh, so my background is actually in acting. I got my theater degree. I majored in theater at the University of Texas at Austin, and Texas Longhorns, hook 'em. And so I studied theater there. And after I graduated, I moved to New York to pursue acting. So I was doing everything from theater to independent films, a little television here and there. And so that sort of led me into the contest for First Take. I had been having fun talking about sports and arguing with sports with my friends, my guy friends, at the sports bar that I go to in Harlem Tavern. Shout out to everyone at Harlem Tavern.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I tell people that's Harlem Tavern raised me, in the sports talk game. I mean, that's where I learned how to really chop it up and have to know my stuff and know my stats and go back and forth. And so from there, the ESPN First Take contest was announced. I think it was in the fall of 2016. And I was like, I have to do this. So I submitted about 13 one-minute videos, sort of kind of giving my takes on the hottest sports topics of the day. And out of 7,000 submissions or something, I was the one who won. I was the woman winner. There was a male winner as well.
Yeah, I remember that. Yep.
Yeah. And so that's what led me to New York. And, I had a whole life as an actor in New York. And now I'm shifting gears to really dive into journalism, specifically sports journalism, and move forward as a reporter and on-air talent.
Go ahead, Maestro.
I was super I was super interested. I'm super interested in the fact that you started from a theater background. But the question I have is 13. So you said you entered 13 times?
Yeah. So the thing is, they encourage you to continue to submit your videos, right? Because the
Okay.
prompt was, if there was something that you disagreed Stephen A. Smith or Max Kellerman with on something, then you submit a video in to kind of, go back up and give your take.
Yeah.
So over the course of 6 weeks, the contest lasted 6 weeks. I just kept submitting stuff. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
huge fan of the show. I've been watching it for years. And it's one of those things where you're at home and I'd be arguing with the TV by myself. And this is an opportunity to know, like, no, let me actually let people know how I really think or what I really think
Right.
about what they're talking about. So over the course of 16 weeks, I submitted 13 different 1-minute videos going back at either Stephen A. Smith or Max on a particular sports topic.
Do you still watch
Who you think
First Take?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Every day.
Okay. Okay.
Who did you find your disagreeing? My fault, Trey.
Go ahead. Go
Who
ahead.
did you find yourself disagreeing with more?
Now, what kind of question is that? Stephen A. Smith is the biggest Cowboys hater, so of course Stephen A. Smith. But it was so funny because, the contest I was announced as the winner like in November, and I went on the show in January. So, I have 2 months to like really, prep and research and make sure I'm on point. And the 2 days before I went on the show, the Cowboys played in the divisional round game against the Green Bay Packers. And so I'm like, bruh, we win. If we win, it's going to be on the popular First Take. And as I'm sure you know, Cowboys lost.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I remember sitting with one of my homeboys at Harlem Tavern because I went there to watch the game, of course. And we sat in the back of the bar after the game and we were just prepping. He was just helping me prep for the show because I had to shift gears, right? I couldn't come in with my chest out like, oh, the Cowboys won and blah, blah, blah. It was like, all right, how do I shift gears in the fact that we lost and how do I play defense now when I go on the show? So, it was definitely more Stephen A. Smith, even though Max was kind of giving it to me a little bit too. But yeah, they were all really fun.
That's what's up. Going back to the acting for a second. So the biggest acting gig that you got while you were in New York was?
Oh, geez. More recently, I was on the season finale of Power Book, the one with
Raising Kanan?
Method Man.
Oh,
with Method Man.
Oh, Ghost, right?
Ghost,
Tariq.
yeah. I think they're all Power, but yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I had a scene with him, which was really funny. I played his assistant or his secretary, whatever. And another actor came into the room and he said, Chrystal, can you please give us some time? And so there was that whole little scene. That was probably like the most recent, biggest part.
Nice.
I'm going back to look for
Season finale. Go watch it.
I gotta look for that.
That's what's up.
So
tell me about your what was your, I guess, the process at the ESPN? What was the day like? Can you walk us through as much as you can walk us through?
That was a whirlwind. So after First Take, after the actual show on that day, they had me meet some people, and the VP or the vice president who oversees First Take, the other show Get Up, and some NBA shows as well. We were in the cafeteria and he walks by and he goes, "Oh, she'd be great for radio." And so, I was just like, what? After the show, I went in his office and talked to him, and we talked about, possibilities. I had no idea. Like, I was an actor. I was just having fun. I had no interest in this field or going into this career field at any point. But I knew I really liked what just happened, right? I felt like I did well. And I was like, oh, whatever that was, I want to do it again. And so they put me on ESPN Radio a couple of times just as a guest. So I went up to the headquarters in Bristol, Connecticut, and went on, I think at the time it was Rothenberg and Metcalf, their show. I think it was on Saturdays. So I went there a couple of times. And then a few months after that, they brought me on as a host with two other people, Matt Stick and Will Reeve. And we had our own show called The Hangout that was on Sundays from like 12 to 4 on the National Radio Network. So that was interesting. I was based in New York, but they would have us come up to Bristol maybe a couple of times, or they'd have us go to the studio that they share with ABC that's in New York City.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. It's just kind of throughout the week paying attention to what's going on. It was a general sports topic show, whatever's happening, nothing's absolutely specific that we had to like hone in on. And throughout the week, I was just paying attention to what's going on, kind of taking notes for yourself, and then having ideas for guests. They bring on guests, and that was it was a lot of learning on the fly. I had no idea what was going on a lot of times, but I was passionate about what I was talking about, but the actual like job itself is this super new. But it was super intimidating, right? Especially when you're working with people who've been doing it for a long time. You walk in and you're like, is this thing on? Hi, my name is Chrystal Stone.
Right.
So that was it was a really cool learning experience, and it forced me to pay attention to sports that I hadn't paid attention to before. Like I had to watch hockey. I had never watched a hockey game ever before I started doing that. And baseball, I had to pay attention to baseball. And then it kind of allowed me to sort of showcase my knowledge in other sports that they weren't knowledgeable in, like women's college basketball or the WNBA. So I kind of was able to shine in that light.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a really good learning experience doing ESPN Radio for a while.
No doubt. So let's shift to now. You get accepted by Arizona State University, and now you're relocating out west. And I did see some footage of you at the Super Bowl this, last month. Take us through that experience. What was that like to kind of cover the Super Bowl and to meet different players and, people of importance?
That was super cool. I would have never dreamed something like that ever happening to me. One of the pulls to come to choose this program specifically is because, it's a top 5 market. I think they have like 5 different professional sports teams here. So the sports-wise, there's so much going on here.
Yeah.
And then the Super Bowl was going to be here. It just happened to be the one year that I'm here for grad school. The Super Bowl was here. And I have to shout out my professor, who also is at ESPN, Professor Bill Roden. He is my column writing and commentary class professor, and he hooked me and like 7 of us students with media passes during the week of the Super Bowl. So we got to go to the media days for like 3 different days. And the first night was opening night, which was insane. It was crazy. It was like a rock star show, like all the players, celebrities was just like, what's going on? But we were tasked with writing 3 different columns for that week for class. So it's like, yay, fun, but no, I have a job to do. So I was able to shift, and yes, there's these famous athletes and, Nick Sirianni and Andy Reid and Travis Kelce, all these famous people, but I have a job to do and I have questions to ask in order to write my story. So over the course of the week, I was able to sort of shift out of that fangirl mode and really, get down to business, get grounded, ask the questions I need to get in there and ask. And it's interesting. Once you have that media, you belong there. Just like, Diana Rossini or, Adam Schefter, like you belong there just like they do. And so you can, I made my way up there. Whether it was one day at the Eagles media day, he's sitting at a podium and there's cameras and there's people surrounding him. But in between the podium and the cameras, there's this like little empty space. And so I said, I'm going to crawl down there and get into that empty little space. So I literally got down on my knees. I crawled down and got right in front of Jalen Hurts and had my phone out and was able to ask him the questions I needed to ask him because I had a story to write and I needed to ask him those questions. So he was so nice. He looked right at me and answered my questions. So it was definitely a test of grit and a test of like, okay, what kind of journalist are you going to be? Are you going to be a go-getter? Or are you going to kind of sit in the back and kind of hope that something, good happens while you're here? I was like, no, I'm going to take the bull by the horns. And I had a really good week. I got to talk to a lot of different people. And for that to be my first media day, the freaking Super Bowl of all opportunities.
Talk about it.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing.
That's crazy. So I guess my question is, I'm interested because that is a hell of a look. Me and Trey started this podcast just because we like talking shit to each other about sports. So I mean, and as we've been doing it, it's interesting that we get to hear more and more stories from people like yourself about what it's like to actually be on I guess there's coach comments, like they talk about people who coach the game, then they talk about couch commentators. I guess a way that I like to describe us, we're like couch media. That's kind of like so it's always interesting to hear your takes on it. And whatever, I guess, are there any other, like, is there something interesting, like if I wanted to not be a couch media person anymore, what would be like what would be some of like your tips and tidbits on dealing with the day-to-day in the field per se?
Now, I'm still in school, right? So I'm actually still learning this
True.
myself. Let me
You're
pull up
doing
my
it all.
Hold on. Let me pull up my notes from my class last week, and I can just share you what I just learned last week.
Yeah. That's
You
a full
know,
plate.
and I had to listen. I have to say, my shout, same thing. Like I had my own podcast for like 2 years. The folks at ESPN Radio had suggested that I start a podcast to kind of get used to talking in a mic and just sort of getting that practice. And so that they had me do that for a few months before I even got onto ESPN Radio. And I was, doing the same thing, just kind of, doing my thing, had guests on and was enjoying it. But I made the decision that there was more to me than just talking about sports and just kind of being in the conversation. I'm a very curious person, and I've been told by my family friends that I ask a lot of questions. So I think naturally there was a journalist somewhere in there, and I needed to discover her. So that led me to go and explore the idea of going to grad school to sort of get that base, that foundation in journalism. That shifted for me, right? And so the reporting aspect of it is super exciting for me, finding out details, relaying information, telling people stories. The way I've said it in my applications, like I tell everyone, for years I told stories as an actor, like on stage or on film. Now I'm telling stories as a journalist. It's just a different medium. I'm still putting people's words and stories and feelings out there for people to see. So the shift it's really dependent on what your focus and what your goal is. For me, I knew it was more than just talking about sports is always going to be a component of it. I would love to be a host and sort of moderate conversations. I feel like I'm a natural at that. But beyond that, I know that from what I've been told with the folks at ESPN is versatility is key, right? So not just being a host, but being able to go and sideline report, being able to go write a story that's going to be posted online on ESPN.com, something like that. Having that versatility meant for me, can mean different for different people, but for me, it meant going to school and sort of getting the basis of journalism down.
I like how you talked about, as you were talking about being at the Super Bowl, being at Eagles Media Day, and kind of happening to work your way to the front just to get your questions answered by Jalen Hurts. Like I kind of compare that to, well, ask questions, because the worst thing that could happen is somebody could say no, or somebody could turn you down, and it's like, okay, I'll just have to try another time, or I'll have to ask somebody else. I kind of like that from you, because I've heard in that media, in that industry, you really have to be a dog to really go up and get what you got to get, to get the job done.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I had a bit of a, I got checked one night. On the first night, one of my stories was about trash talking in the NFL, and I wanted to focus on Nick Sirianni and how he's kind of been known as this trash talker. The difference is, or what makes it unique, is that it's coming from the head coach, right? That behavior, as opposed to like a diva wide receiver, right? And so that, the first night I'm going around and asking players, I asked Brandon Ingram about it. I got some good quotes, and then I went to Travis Kelce. I was like, oh, let me get the other team's perspective of the trash talking. And, I got right up in, Diana Rossini's right there. Like, it's like people right all around me, right? So I get in there and I was like, yeah, Travis, I was like, you like to engage a little bit in the trash talk every now and then. And how does it feel to be able to have trash talk your way all the way to the Super Bowl? That like you can walk the walk and talk the talk, right?
Yeah.
And so he was just like, I really don't engage in trash talk, but I finish it. Something like that, right? But the answer was like very blunt. And so I was just like, okay. But all right. With a little bit more training, like I would have had a follow-up right then, right? But I just kind of was like, okay, say what you said.
Right.
But it was a learning curve. Like the next time I was like, all right, let me make sure I have like a follow-up just in case it is short. Or like he's a trash talker. Like he knows
right.
Most people say he's such a big trash talker, but he just kind of wanted to downplay it. And I probably should have been prepared for his answer to go that direction and then better prepared in that way. But yeah.
Yeah, he wanted to downplay that because he didn't want to give the Eagles bulletin board material. That's kind of what I take from that.
I mean, you can say that, but
or maybe he just didn't. Maybe I imagine that a player would want to have to answer as less possible questions as they could possibly answer. So if I can hit you with the one thing that's going to make you be quiet, and say, "All right, I got my quote," then that's kind of what they want to do. I feel you. I probably would have froze up like that too. Honestly, where you clearly have more training than I do, I'd be like, who you talking to?
It wasn't like a comeback at me. I remember the exact words.
Okay.
He was like, yeah, I don't do a lot of trash talking. He goes, I don't do a lot of barking. I just bark back. And that's how the quote ended. And I was like,
okay.
It wasn't what I was hoping for.
Okay.
It was really like, it just wasn't what I was hoping for in an answer. So his quote didn't make my story, too bad. His quote didn't.
So he wasn't blowing you off per se.
No,
he wasn't blowing you off in a rude way.
No, not at all. It was more like the answer was so blunt, and I wasn't prepared for the answer.
Yeah, she was expecting a longer answer from him, and she got the short answer and didn't know how to combat that.
Yeah.
But I wanna talk about your teams that you root for. So you're Dallas native, big Mavericks fan, I hear. Also, Dallas Cowboy fan. I'll start with the Cowboys first. I'm gonna be blunt about it. What the hell do they got to do to get themselves back into at least an NFC Championship game, or even further than that? Get to a Super Bowl.
Jerry Jones needs to retire.
Mm.
I mean, think about it. I was a teenager when the Cowboys won those Super Bowls, right?
Yeah.
And I never understood at that time why he let Jimmy Johnson go. I just never quite understood. My mom would try to explain it to me, but couldn't really process it as a kid at the time.
Yeah.
To this day, I think the way Jerry Jones runs this team, he runs it like a profitable business, and it absolutely is. It is the most. What are they? They have the record for being the most have the most net worth.
I heard he's cheap though. I heard he's cheap.
He can be. I don't know what he is, but what he is he doesn't make the best business decisions for a team that's trying to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
he makes the best decisions for a team that's a great business. It's a great business. I mean, it has the most fans, the most, come on, it's the most of everything with the Cowboys, except for the
Super Bowl. ESPN wants to talk about them every single day for something. So
and there's a reason for that, right? And I was literally told that they do better when the Cowboys are doing well. Like just ratings rise.
That makes a lot of sense.
This is what it is, right? And you can attribute a lot of that. You have to give a lot of that credit to Jerry Jones and how he's been running this business, not the team itself, but the business he runs so incredibly well. But what the Cowboys need, I was just like kind of, as I was prepping, I was just kind of writing some notes to myself. And I was like, the first time that the Eagles won the Super Bowl, when they went back then, afterwards, he was quoted as saying that, he screamed at his pillow at night. He couldn't believe, the Eagles won the Super Bowl before they, were able to get back to the Super Bowl. And I thought about after this past Super Bowl experience, they went again, in 4 years with a different coach, a different quarterback, a lot of different
team. Yeah, different team.
Different playmakers. And the Cowboys still have a lot of their unit, right? With Dak and Zeke and Tyron Smith, a lot of their original unit from 6-7 years ago. And where are they? I think the difference between, let's say, the Eagles, the Rams, who, threw out the kitchen sink and signed every agent, made every trade they could, is that the Cowboys seem to be sold on the idea that they can build this team solely through the draft, and maybe a little bargain veteran here and there.
Right.
What's holding them back? They historically have never been active during free agency. So when March comes every year, people like, y'all ask me, oh, what do you guys think is free agent? They not going to do anything during free agency. They just historically have not made any big moves in March. It's not the makeup of this team. It's not how Jerry Jones does business.
Right.
He likes to take his bets on the talent that he gets during the draft. But seeing how the Eagles just did that, I mean, they were making trades, every big name, AJ Brown, like they were making trades left and right. The Rams did it and it was successful.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's holding the Cowboys back. Making those big splash moves are separating the contenders from a team like the Dallas Cowboys.
But I'll go back a few years too. I remember a big free agent that y'all picked up. His name was Terrell Owens. And that was one of the best Cowboys teams that I saw during that time. I think it was 2007 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And that was a number 1 seeded team, had the home field advantage throughout the playoffs. And then they get upset by the Giants that one year. And then it just kind of, fell off after that. They let go of T.O. a year later after that. But you make a great point. Like, I'm sitting here trying to think, like, damn, she's right. Like, what big names have they really gone out to get? Like, that's in their prime kind of a thing. Like, I can't think of any.
And, you can give them credit for Amari Cooper, right? Because once they brought in Amari Cooper, traded away a first-round draft pick, it helped Dak significantly.
Yeah.
But then what they do after that? They let Amari Cooper walk.
Let him walk.
In the wide receiver position, still, after you bring in Michael Gallup, after you bring in CeeDee Lamb, after you bring in James Washington, still at the end of this season, the wide receiver position is still a huge need for the Dallas Cowboys coming into this next season. So Jerry Jones has been quoted, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, where he admitted that letting Amari Cooper walk wasn't such a great idea. But this experimenting, just kind of like, well, let's just see what we have now to see how it works. It's not working. You have to take that dive. And I think it may be to your point that maybe he is cheap. Well, sir, you can't. The money ain't gonna go when you die. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, that money ain't going in the coffin. So
spend it, And he only has so much time. And I think to be on a very serious note, what scares me the most and what concerns me the most is Dak's in his 7th year, Zeke's in his 7th year. They just put the franchise tag on Tony Pollard, and I think Zeke's going to take a pay cut to stay with his best friend, Dak. But they're running out of time, right? They're running out of time with what the pieces that they had that worked so well in Dak's rookie year. We're 7 years down the line, and they haven't gotten past the divisional round. They're running out of time.
Yeah, that was good. You literally took it out of my mouth that they are running out of time. And what I've been saying about the Cowboys for the past 2 or 3 years is that they're in a championship window. They have the pieces around them. Maybe they need to add a piece. Add a piece here, add a piece there, but their core are good enough to play with anybody in the NFL if supported properly. So it's interesting that you say that. I'm gonna throw a question at you, and you just tell me how you feel. These are some of the things I've heard from Dallas fans. They are done with Dak Prescott. Where are you with that?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, after the last loss, I was like, I'm done. Oh, I'm sick of it. But that was my emotions talking. That was definitely my emotions talking. I after some time of like thinking about it, I had to be honest with myself that Dak Prescott is never going to be a Patrick Mahomes. He's not going to be even a Jalen Hurts on that level, sort of kind of being able to put the team on his back. Dak needs pieces around him. He needs everything to kind of be perfect, the weather to be 72 degrees. Like, he needs everything to be perfect around him. And that's on Jerry Jones putting those pieces around him. The other thing is, it recently was reported that Mike McCarthy, like one of the reasons why they got rid of Kellen Moore is because they were having disagreements on how to call the right plays. And although Kellen Moore was able to lead an offense that was one of the top in the NFL for the past few years, when it came down to crunch time, there were just some play calling decisions that just did not make any sense, right? And so that's holding Dak back too. That I've said this before, the Cowboys have to decide, who is Dak Prescott? Is he your hero, or is he just gonna, like, can you put the game in his hands?
A game
or
manager.
I don't want to say game manager, because I think he's better than a game manager, right? Because he can still make some big plays down the stretch. But they have to make that decision. And that decision is going to be reflected in their play calling when it comes down the line, when the game is on the line. That's, to me, that's what separates the great Super Bowl contenders from just the okay team, is the team knowing what their identity is and who they absolutely can count on.
Going back to the playoff game against San Francisco when Tony Pollard went down, that to me just kind of said, okay, this is probably it for the Cowboys, because I actually had y'all pulling off the upset, and it looked like it was kind of going that way, and then Dak throws the interceptions, and then Tony Pollard gets hurt, so you kind of take away your home run hitter, and now you're just kind of left with old Zeke to try to make something happen, and it just didn't work out. But kind of to your point, you got to be able to overcome those kinds of things regardless of what the situation is, and Dak hasn't proven that he could do that.
He hasn't proven he can do that, but then at the same time, I don't know what happened to Dak this season. I don't know. With the interceptions, he starts off his rookie year with 4 interceptions and then leads the league in interceptions in his 7th year. I don't understand how that happens.
Mm-hmm.
I'll let a quarterback guru come on and say that, speak to that. But
what was his injury? His injury was the thumb, right?
The injury was the thumb, but
on his throwing shoulder, on his throwing hand.
I think so. Yeah, because otherwise, I mean, that would be the reason why he would be out.
Right? I was gonna say, not to make excuses for him, but
yeah, and I'm over this excuses. Kind of to your question, your original question. Am I done with Dak? I'm kind of done with the excuses. What I want to see is obviously Dak play better ultimately, but then also I want to see this team make personnel decisions that show that they trust Dak with this team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel
you on that. So you feel like they don't trust Dak with the team?
I don't know. Something's up.
Something's up. Okay. So, but you're not in the position where you feel like, as a Dallas fan, let's start looking for a quarterback.
No, because what we're gonna do? Who we gonna get? No. Who? That's always my retort to people who are like, get rid of Dak. Then who are we gonna get? Like, we're gonna have to wait and try to hope for a dream in the draft. We already know Cowboys don't do the deed in the free agency. They're not going to make a big trade, and it will look bad on Jerry Jones, right? Jerry Jones has a huge ego, and look how Jerry Jones sticks with people, right? Mm-hmm. Jason Garrett was going 8-8, and he's still stuck with him, right? Because it was his ego, because that was the decision that he made, right, to put him there. So, he tends to let people stay a little bit longer than they should. And I'm not saying that that's the issue with Dak, but I mean, as far as his ego is concerned, signing Dak to that huge deal, making him the highest paid quarterback at that time, that's Jerry Jones' decision. He's going to stick by that. He's going to have to stand by that. We're stuck with Dak. And the way I see it is we're stuck with Dak. Let's just put the right pieces around him and hope for the best.
Yeah. I think he's a good quarterback, though. I agree with you that he needs some extra help on that side of the ball.
For sure.
Yeah, I agree with you that they miss Amari Cooper. I certainly agree with. They miss Amari Cooper. And they're wishing that they could have paid that man. They definitely wishing they. Talk to me about the optics. So going back, so I not to add more gloom to your team, but another conversation that I've been having with Dallas Cowboys fans is the optics of back-to-back playoff losses to the 49ers in some would say a not great coaching way.
Oh yeah.
So how do you feel about that? Yeah, and for certain that play where Zeke was playing center, it's these funny things.
That's what I'm talking about. But that's my point. Yeah. That is exactly my point. Who when they were sitting weeks ago, prepping for the playoff, who in the room? I want to know whose idea was it? Who came up with this? This play has been in the playbook for months. Like, whose idea was that? That's my point. What? I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. So that's why I say it's not always all on Dak, and it's very interesting to see how this team is going to progress with Mike McCarthy calling the plays. Now, he called the plays for the majority of his career with the Packers. Mm-hmm. They've had some success there, and there was maybe some back and forth between him and Aaron Rodgers. But to see what's going to happen with Mike McCarthy calling the plays, and he did make a comment that he disagreed on on the way that Kellen Moore saw the team. He said there were so many times that Kellen Moore wanted to pass the ball on first down, but the Cowboys have been known as a team that runs on first down. In fact, they've been more successful, right? Well, they've actually been more successful passing on first down than they have been on running. So, I think I have that right. So how this team progresses with that big change, because that is a big deal, like the coaching. And I don't know how confident I feel in Mike McCarthy, calling the plays, but he did have that role with Green Bay, and they weren't too shabby.
He also had Aaron Rodgers, so that makes a big difference.
I literally knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that. But I mean, again, maybe with the right pieces around Dak, this could all turn around.
All right.
So, give me projections in your perfect world, Dallas Cowboy fan, going into this next season. What happens in the off season, and how do you feel like it would fare? And I'm talking about not professional. Don't be professional. As a fan, what would you like to happen, and how do you and if that happens, how do you compete in the NFC in your world?
Okay, so in my perfect world, they address the wide receiver position, preferably in the free agency. We get a big, name in free agency, or they add a couple pieces in the draft. Perfectly in the right world, they address the cornerback position, because I don't know what happened to Trayvon Diggs, what's going on there. And then on the other side of the ball, they've had so many injuries on the other side of the field, so they address that. That they address defensive tackle as well. And that this works out with Mike McCarthy. I'm not worried about the defense because Dan Quinn is still at the helm, but Michael Parsons needs some help. Michael Parsons is running out there running ragged, and I'm afraid that they're going to run him down to the ground. So they need to get him some help. So all those things happening, I'm not worried about the NFC East, because the Cowboys have ran the NFC East. Now, granted, the Eagles just won a division, but I mean, as far as the head-to-head matchups with the Giants, the head-to-head matchups with the other teams, Dak is on the winning side and by landslide against those teams. So I'm not worried about the NFC East. I am concerned about the entire NFC, especially with what happens with San Francisco, what Brock Purdy, like what's happening there. And Aaron Rodgers, bro, what are you doing? You just got to have your darkness retreat. Like, where are you going to go? I mean, is he going to go to the Jets? Like, I don't know. Is he going to stay in the NFC? So really, it's more about how the NFC as a whole lines up in this offseason. I don't know. I do this every season. Every season, at the end of every season, I go, I'm not going to have any expectations. And then they start to play, and they start to play really well. And then I get my hopes up.
They draw you in.
Yeah, this is the year. In a perfect world, if they address those positions and they address them adequately, the Cowboys will always be a contender. Always.
Yeah. You're a fan that I think Stephen A. always kind of describes as Cowboy fans. Like, always, getting your hopes up. Once you start to see him play some good ball, and then it just kind of, the other shoe falls, and, that's all she wrote.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me of that. It is very true. But I'm also realistic, right? And so I knew that the Cowboys wouldn't get very far this season. I mean, actually, if you look at the last maybe 3 or 4 years, I've always said what separates a good team from a great team is both teams play well, but great teams play well consistently. And the Cowboys, they come on, number 1 offense, top 5 defense. They play well. They just week to week, you don't know which team is going to show up.
That's true.
And once that team culture sort of gets implemented and established, it doesn't matter what talent is on the field. Doesn't matter what big free agents we get. Doesn't matter how well Mike McCarthy coaches. If they can't show up week to week, like the Patriots did when they went on their run, or like the Eagles did this entire season, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
I want to and Chrystal, we definitely appreciate your time here. I actually want to apologize because we're kind of keeping you past the time that you had stated to me in the email, but I do got 2 questions for you, 2 more questions.
In my defense, I didn't get the email.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
I would have been better. I swear, I would have been better.
Even though he has access to it, he didn't get it. But
he was not CC'd.
No, I was not CC'd.
So, question about the Mavericks. So Luka and Kyrie Irving, this dynamic duo, we've seen them for about 7 games now. I know they're 2-5 in those games, but let's look bigger picture, the playoffs. What ceiling do you give the Mavericks when it comes to the playoffs this year?
Yeah, I was here earlier this week watching the game against the Suns, and I was, it came down to the wire. Obviously, how that game ended is very disappointing. I'm not freaking out the way that a lot of people seem to be freaking out, because there's only 7 games, and not all big trades. The teams don't always just like magically game 1 they're like the most great team in the world. Sometimes you got to cook, right? And I'm okay with it with there being some cooking here, although there are only 17 games left in the regular season, so there's not a lot of time to cook. But I feel like they just need a little bit more time to cook. These are 2 big mega stars in the NBA who are trying to have to figure out like how to mesh. The bigger issue beyond all of that is defense.
Yeah.
Right. You bring in Kyrie Irving. Okay, well, how do you address the defense side of the ball? So that's what I look at when I look at the Mavs of how they're addressing the defense. Luka admitted that he wasn't 100%. He hasn't been 100%. He's been dealing with a thigh injury. Some of their playmakers or their role players have to step up a bit. I think Kleber was out. Josh Green didn't have the greatest game. So once those role players kind of get cooking, I think Kyrie and Luka are going to be fine. But I mean, the record is the record, and they're kind of on teetering on having to go into the play-in tournament, and I'm not sure about that. So I really want to see them being in Phoenix right now, and kind of being surrounded by the Suns and this whole atmosphere. I love that this is a beef. I love that there's a new beef. I love that that's the Mavs versus the Suns. I love like this new rivalry that's kind of emerged over the last couple of seasons. With the Lakers being out, because LeBron, I don't think he's coming back this season, or they're not going to be a contender. It's gonna be a tight race. But I do feel like the Mavs have a little bit of time to kind of get this together, and as long as they figure out how to play well on the defensive side of the ball, they'll be a good contender. The thing is, Luka and Kyrie are dogs, right? And so they have a lot to prove. They're not going to fall flat on their face. Yeah, that game ended the way it ended, but they're still trying to figure it out. Like at the end of the day, no one's KD. No one on that court is KD, and the Mavericks didn't get KD, so the Suns did. So of course, they look great. But with the Luka and Kyrie, they just need a little bit more time to kind of figure it out, and I feel like they have a chance to get to at least the Western Conference Finals. That's
Western Conference Finals. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And I want another showdown between
Suns
and the Mavs.
Suns Mavs Conference Final.
Yes, and I'll be here. Yes, please.
Okay. I could dig that.
I'm here to say that y'all are going to get y'all boots smoked.
Okay, great. You know what? Oh, the reception.
Time's up.
We had the free version of Zoom, and it tells you only have 40. Yeah,
the 40 minutes.
The 40-minute time limit. Yep. No.
I acknowledge. Look, man. Look, I like Luka. Let's be clear on it. I like Luka so much that Devin Booker is no longer a top 10 player in the league to me, because how that Game 7 happened last year. I don't like it. I'm a Luka fan. But let's be clear. When that man from my city went to Phoenix, look, man, say what you want. He hop teams, all cool. That's cool. But when he comes to that team, he's the dude. And he's going to be the dude. And he's just going to be the dude.
Yeah. I don't think they win it this year, though. I
don't disagree. I went to the University of Texas, so did KD. So I'll always be a KD fan.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that he's here, happens to be here when I'm here for grad school. So I'm very excited. And you're right. Like I'm not gonna say I'm not nervous. I am nervous that it could come down to a playoff series between Luka and KD and Kyrie, and I think it's going to be so exciting to see 2 friends / former teammates going against each other. It's just going to be such exciting basketball this season.
Yeah.
No doubt about that.
It's gonna be a hell of a series for sure.
Yeah. My last one for you, kind of going back to the Cowboys. Who your 5 best Cowboys all time? Your top 5.
So the first 3 were easy because they are my idols growing up, and that's Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, and Michael Irving. I mean, the triplets. They were just, they were just my childhood, and so everything was great. I kind of struggled with the last 2 because I was like, well, let me go a little bit more recent. I will always love Des Bryant and what he brought to the team and the energy, even though it was during a time where the Cowboys did struggle. He threw up the X, love Des. And it wasn't in my time, right? But Roger Staubach, of course, like freaking legend. Tony Dorsett, legend. So my last 2 spots kind of hover in those. I always will love Charles Haley because I feel like he didn't get his flowers in the way that Tom Brady did when he got his first 5 Super Bowls. I'm like, Charles Haley already did that, right? So Charles Haley, I would definitely want to put up there for sure.
That's what's up. I like the list. I kind of like that list. What you think, Maestro?
I like the list. Just know that there's always somebody calling my phone or directly DMing me or something saying, who is this person and what are they talking about? They clearly know nothing about sports. So I always like to leave that disclaimer with people when you do these top 5 lists. It's your list though. So that's always my defense. Always
that's
right.
Back. That's right. It's your list. It's your list. It's your list.
My list, and maybe I do go with emotion. I had Jason Witten on my list too, because I just feel like he was so clutch. Like he did no wrong to me. Like he never disappointed me as a fan. Jason Witten, I just felt like he always showed up. So yeah, those, and I was thinking, Deion Sanders, but he wasn't there for so very long. But I feel like for longevity and for what he did for the team, and we could always trust him whenever the ball was thrown in his direction. Jason Witten, he'd probably take my 5 spot.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of players to choose from when it comes to the Cowboys. But
and tell your friends, I don't care.
But your 5 is good. Your 5 is good. Like, if anybody call me or email me or DM me talking about they don't like your list, they crazy.
I don't care.
Look, and look, one of my homegirls is a diehard Dallas fan. So when she gets a hold of this, if she don't like it, she is definitely, yeah. I'm gonna just at you. Let's be clear. I'm just gonna at you.
Okay, that sounds good.
Chrystal, this has been fun. This is a pleasure to finally meet you. Go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you at on social media and what you got coming up.
Oh yeah, so I'm on social media, all the platforms at Chrystal Stone _, and that's Chrystal with an H, CHRY, blah 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 blah. And what I have coming up, so I'm still here in grad school in Phoenix, Arizona at Arizona State, and I cover the ASU gymnastics team. So you can see some of the footage that I put up with packages. I just did a meet that they did this past Saturday. What else do I have coming up? Oh my gosh, like a lot of school work. My program ends in August, so
nice.
I'll be out of here. I'm not sure where. Depends on what the best opportunity is after I leave here. So my future is kind of like,
I was gonna say my best guess would be that when you're done with grad school, that you're gonna stay put. Arizona, from what I've heard, is too nice of a city to not want to leave as far as the weather's concerned. That's what I've heard, anyway. No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. I don't. I'm not saying yes or no. I'm just saying that was surprising. I thought you were going to say something totally different.
Oh. Okay.
Okay.
All right. We'll see. Right? You never know, right?
I need a job. Somebody hire me. So I'll put that word out there. Wherever the best opportunity is, I'll definitely take it.
All right. That's what's up.
Well, I will definitely say you got the radio voice, so I'm sure the opportunity is going to present itself if that's what you want.
Thank you very, very much.
Absolutely.
No doubt. This was great, Chrystal. Thank you so much again for coming on.
Absolutely.
And
nice to meet y'all too.
Absolutely. And we'll check you out on social media. We'll check you out. All right?
All right. Sounds good. Y'all have a good one.
All right. You do the same. Be safe in the streets. All right, folks.